Hello everyone, this is In-Game Arts with another unboxing, another offline gaming experience. This is Final Fantasy IX for the Nintendo Switch. Now this is the Asia import physical copy. This is due to the fact that sadly at the time I'm making this video, this is the only way to obtain a physical copy is importing the Asia version. As well as this Asia version physical copy run is only limited to the Nintendo Switch, so hopefully down the road we will see more physical copies be made for other platforms. Now this physical copy comes with the update version on cartridge 1.0.1-5 on cartridge, and at the time of making this video there were no updates available. So this is the complete copy so far right now on cartridge for the Nintendo Switch, which is extremely nice. Now Final Fantasy IX here is somewhat of a remaster, but sadly some might be disappointed that it does hold the old style aspect ratio of 1.3, so it's not widescreen, it's not taking full advantage of the widescreen of your TV. Some might be upset by this. It doesn't really bug me as a retro gamer, I've used to it, but some might be not happy about it. As I said, this is not just a port, this is a remaster, so a lot of the models and some of the graphical fidelity in the game has been polished and reworked and so forth to bring more life and color to the game. Sadly though, the background for the characters running around does seem a bit blurry in my personal opinion. I wish they would have sharpened that up a little bit and cleaned it up a little bit. I know it's not as necessarily as easy to do as remaking models or polishing models, because that's a still image background, but I wish something could have been done, personally, in my opinion. Now, as I said, it's a remaster, so they did add a couple other features and functions to the game. The game has a 3x speed mode where it makes grinding and training and running through the game in story mode a lot faster because it's running at 3x speed. It's got instant level up, instant max skill, instant ability maxed out. It allows you to disable combat encounters as well as do 9,999 damage, as well as that constantly max out your limit break or trance in the game. So it does have some features in the game that make the game a little bit faster and smoother and more to the point of the game, because these older games back in the PlayStation 1 and Super Nintendo days, there was a lot of grind, and I don't think a lot of people can deny that. But overall, it's still a great experience. Though I need to point out the 3x speed mode. There is a bit of a glitch problem with this. Now, you can play the entire game with the 3x speed mode, but just keep in mind, if you're running around in the open world aspect of the game, there is a high chance the game will crash when you go into a battle encounter. I did experiments and so forth. I did heavy training indoors and the game never crashed on 3x speed, but instantly I started running around outside with 3x speed, got into a battle encounter. I'd say within 2 or 3 battle encounters the game always crashed. So if you're going to rerun around in the open world at 3x speed, make sure to disable random encounters to avoid crashing. Just some friendly advice on that. As well as that, if you are wondering, the legendary glitch for the Thunder Slash of Beatrix move glitch is still in the game, so that's some dismay to that, but I think it's kind of charming to leave that little glitch there because it's such an iconic glitch. But other than that, going into the game, Final Fantasy IX is still the original experience and so forth. They didn't change anything or censor anything by my understanding, so that's really great. I'm glad it's still the pristine original version of the game, just polished up and added a few little features in there, as it should always be done when you're remastering a game. Now, my personal opinion, Final Fantasy IX is one of the most legendary games and probably the last good Final Fantasy game that I truly loved. This game holds a lot of memories for me, both 7 and Final Fantasy Tactics. These games are inseparable for me. I could not tell you which one's the best one. I do love Final Fantasy Tactics the most, but man, 7 and 9, man, it just depends on the mood of my day, because Final Fantasy IX has amazing story, amazing characters, amazing soundtrack, and just the gameplay. Though I won't go around calling Final Fantasy IX the most strategic game out in the Final Fantasy games, because a lot of them are just spamming the X button to attack. And since the game is heavy on the grinding and stuff like that, you can overpower yourself pretty quickly. But overall, it's still an amazing game. It leaves heart-wrenching moments in the game. The characters are all very charming. It still has amazing little mini-games. The card battle game in the game, which is very challenging and rewarding. Though I wish it was a little bit less on the RNG on the card game. But I wish there was actually an actual separate game, like Final Fantasy or Square Enix could make for it. Because it's just, I think there's a lot they could do with the card game in Final Fantasy IX. I mean, there's just so much to this game. This game is packed with content, and of course, there's no one here on the planet that would love to see a full remake of Final Fantasy IX than me. I don't think I really want them to make the remake like full real life like graphics and so forth like Final Fantasy VII remake, because Final Fantasy IX was a bit of an outlier compared to the other games where they were more of a grittier, more realistic aspect, while Final Fantasy IX had this cutesy, cartoony, chibi kind of style, or however you want to look at it. It was just so different, but yet so meshed so well, and it really shows what Final Fantasy's experience is supposed to be. It's just an amazing gaming experience and has just so much memory to me. I love the chocobo hunting and so forth, and upgrading your chocobo, and the chocobo hot and cold aspect. There's so much in this game, but sadly, the main villain in the game is not to my liking. He's not the most popular one, for my opinion, compared to the other Final Fantasy games villains, and that's where the game, I'd say, is the weakest in terms of Final Fantasy games. Not to say the game is bad or weaker or less of experience, but story-wise, I do think like maybe 7 and 6 and so forth are a little bit better stories, in my personal opinion, but there's still a lot here that just makes this game, just every time I come back to it, it hit me with so much hard nostalgic, and I'm so glad to have a new reprint version of this game. Oddly, it's only available on the Switch. I don't understand this philosophy of releasing these PS1 games only on the Switch. I'm not saying that the Switch can't have their own physical copies, but I don't understand why it's only available on the PS1. I want many physical copies for many platforms, even for Xbox. It's not just exclusive to PlayStation. I'm talking about this game needs to be experienced by everyone. Both 7, 9, and 8, and 6, and so forth. These are phenomenal games. As well as I hope that we can see other games get this kind of treatment, and not just Final Fantasy games, like the original Resident Evil games, Silent Hill, Dino Crisis, and so forth. Just because the game is old and has poor graphics as people's standards nowadays, they're still fun, rewarding, and good time game to play. And all you do is just pretty up, work with the graphics, so forth, add a little couple fixes here and there to make the experience more fluid and smooth. It just gives it an overall amazing experience. And again, I can't highly recommend Final Fantasy IX anymore. Though I will point out, I am disappointed that this physical copy is a standalone copy of Final Fantasy IX, while the other one had like 7 and 8. They could have just mashed it all together as one physical copy, or just add another game like Final Fantasy VI to this, just to put Final Fantasy VI to it, or other games. There's just a little disappointed in that department, but I still say look it up. I definitely highly recommend getting a physical copy. Hopefully we'll see, like I said, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, whichever, Xbox, and so forth. Just more physical copies of these great games available for everyone, fully updated and so forth. It's still worth the time, still worth the play. No matter how old this game gets, it's a timeless classic. And just one of the hardest points I had in this game, making this video, was deciding what my unboxing song was going to be, because the game has so many good soundtracks, and just, man, it's just so much. This game hit me with so much nostalgic that I can't explain it. You have to play it. That's the only thing I can recommend. Just play it. Even if you want to put all the high stats up, make it a game really easy, just experience the game, the story, and just the overall appeal of the game. So, in my personal opinion, look for a physical copy as soon as you can. It might be a little expensive for just the one game, but it's your call on what you want to pay for. I recommend it highly. So like always, I try to leave links down in the description if you're interested in copy. Like I said, it will be for the Asia import version. Hopefully we'll maybe get America version or a PAL version, whichever. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next unboxing video. Bye-bye!